The regime. You mean all American presidents?
I'm 17
Who's your
years
favorite
old.
president in the last 50 years?
Adam, I'm
Who's
17 years old.
Who's your favorite president in the last 50
I have
years?
a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay, I also have
if you want to make it personal,
other, so you want to go personal?
You have a significant other.
We can go as personal as we can go.
No, I'm trying not to.
We can go as personal as you want.
Respond to one thing.
I don't care, Dave.
Adam, some substance.
I don't care.
I know, because you don't know anything.
Dave, you're a radical.
So move on. So stop picking a fight with me, dude. You don't know anything about anything.
And surgically,
this is the saddest thing. I've never been in a debate where someone just fell back to someone else's debate. Boom, boom, boom. Name one of the booms. Make the point for yourself. Me and you are supposed to be debating here, brother.
The memo from Wesley Clark.
Point to you, Adam, would simply be it's an unusual debating strategy to spend 10 minutes of this debate talking about another debate that most viewers may not have seen.
There is a moment in this debate where Adam thinks he has Dave Smith exactly where he wants him. Dave had made an explosive claim that the United States could arguably be described as the worst terrorist organization in the world. Adam's response? You've already lost the debate. And honestly, if Dave had actually been saying that every American soldier is equivalent to ISIS or Al-Qaeda, that would be an entirely different argument. But here's the problem. Before we decide who won, we need to actually listen to what Dave said. Because Piers Morgan does something very important here. He replays the original clip. And once Dave gets the opportunity to explain what he meant, the argument becomes much more complicated than the headline. Dave isn't saying American soldiers are ISIS. He's making an argument about how we define terrorism, what happens to civilians during war, and whether the same standards should be applied to governments and militant groups. And that's where this debate gets interesting. Because you don't have to agree with Dave's conclusion to recognize that his actual argument deserves to be answered. So let's watch exactly what happened. If you appreciate commentary that follows the receipts instead of the political team sports, subscribe to The Honest Perspective. I'm Neil. This is The Honest Perspective. Truth over propaganda. People over power. Let's get into it.
The IDF is the worst terrorist organization in the region. Let's get real. The United States of America is arguably the worst terrorist organization in the world. If you want to look over the last 25 years, how many innocent civilians we've slaughtered.
It doesn't matter, it turns out, how many times you appear on Joe Rogan's show or how many times you hide behind your title of comedian who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for fewest jokes told, or how many times you spew puerile analogies that demonstrate nothing but unbelievable, willful ignorance of the nature of war. I'm sorry, but you hate the country if you say America is the worst terrorist organization in the world. You just do. Now, I know that Dave Smith is super duper excited that his name was mentioned here, and he's sitting there shouting at his TV screen in his basement, "Debate me, bro!" To which I answer, nah. I don't debate with trolls who claim that America is the biggest terrorist state in the world because that is idiotic.
So, Dave, as you know, that all blew up. A lot of debate raged about it. Clarify what you meant. Do you regret phrasing it the way you did? Just give us a bit more meat on the bone.
No, I don't regret phrasing it the way I did, and I'll be very clear about what I'm saying. I will point out that it's quite something for Ben Shapiro. Just since you played him, I got to respond to him first. That he goes, "Oh, I just won't debate with this guy because this is so beyond the pale." Ben Shapiro made his name debating 19-year-old communist Maoists who were confused about their gender. So somehow, Piers, we're going to have to believe here that I'm so much less serious than the children who Ben Shapiro made a career debating. I loved your response to him where you pointed out some of the goofy segments that he does on his show. I mean, personally, I really stay away from that stuff. And, for Adam, I think to say it's clickbait or that I just want to get out in front of the camera, I think we're all equally in front of a camera right now. And it's kind of weird to accuse someone else. I very much believe the things I'm saying.
Dave.
And there it is. That is the actual statement. Not the shortened version somebody posted on social media. Not a headline. Not somebody else's characterization. Dave explicitly said that the United States was arguably the worst terrorist organization in the world. That is an extremely serious claim. And if you're going to make a claim that serious, you need to define your terms. Because terrorism isn't simply a synonym for military action I hate. There is a difference between an unlawful attack, a war crime, a military operation that causes civilian casualties, and terrorism as a legal or analytical category. So Adam has a legitimate question here. What exactly does Dave mean by terrorism? But now we get to the part where Adam's argument starts moving away from Dave's actual words. Let's hear Dave explain himself.
To Adam's point,
Dave,
well,
don't run from the comment.
Because there's a bunch.
Don't run from your comment.
I'm trying to
address
get to
the
it, but
comment,
there's a
not
lot
Ben
here.
Shapiro, would you?
Well,
good.
yes,
let's go. Wrap it up.
No, I'm going to make the points I want to make.
You called the United States military.
You're just slowing. Okay, so
You
anyway,
called the United States military the greatest terror organization in the world.
Adam,
defend.
Just let me answer. No problem. I'm going to go back to the order I was going to go in. To Adam's point, when Adam says I'm a radical libertarian and I say that this is true Americanism, I mean, look, my favorite founding father is Thomas Paine. Not everyone considers him a founding father. And maybe I love him so much because he never held a government position and didn't own slaves, which I thought was pretty cool. But Benjamin Franklin said he was the most consequentialist and the one person most responsible for the United States of America existing. His famous pamphlet that he wrote was called Common Sense. And I think on the first or second line of it, he says, government is at best a necessary evil. So at best, he's like, this is clearly on the anarchist to night watchman state spectrum was what true Americanism was when it started. Now, for me to say what I made the point, and I've made this point a million times on your show, Pierce, I was saying when people come on and say Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, well, just like give me an objective definition of what terrorism means, and then let's apply that standard universally. And if you're going to sit here and say, look, America has given billions, tens of billions of dollars to the IDF in the last few years. We've also, by the way, given a lot of weapons and money here. Your first guest on this show there, the head of the Obama deep state, was using Al-Qaeda, bin Ladenite head choppers on the ground in Libya and in Syria. And yes, Adam, I would also consider it when our politicians lie us into wars that slaughter millions of innocent people and in many cases target those innocent people. I consider that terrorism as well. There's the answer, Adam. And if you want to keep doing this, buddy, you could tell me to check the scoreboard. I'll run circles around you on this, dude. Check the scoreboard. Most unpopular war in American history going in. Check the scoreboard. 13 dead Americans and 150 plus other wounded. Thousands of innocents, including little schoolgirls in Iran, killed. Dead innocent Israelis. Hundreds of dead innocent people in Lebanon. Millions of innocent people being displaced, all at the cost of tens of billions of dollars and destroying Trump's coalition. Check your scoreboard, Adam. How's it looking for you?
Now, this is where we need to slow down, because Dave has made two separate arguments, and they shouldn't be mixed together. The first is a factual and historical argument. What has the United States actually done in its wars? And there is substantial evidence that American wars have caused enormous civilian suffering. Brown University's Costs of War project estimates hundreds of thousands of direct civilian deaths across America's post-9/11 wars, with millions more deaths when indirect consequences are included. That doesn't automatically prove Dave's definition of terrorism, but it does mean the underlying civilian cost question is absolutely legitimate. The second argument is moral. If terrorism means deliberately targeting civilians to achieve political objectives, should governments be judged by the same principle as non-state groups? And that is the argument Adam actually needs to defeat. Not you're American, therefore you're wrong. Not you live in America. Not you're a libertarian. The definition. So now watch what happens when Adam tries to answer him.
Okay, Dave. Okay, it's not working well for you, Dave, because
substantively
you're
respond
still
to any
saying
of that,
that
Adam.
United States. You're saying the United States is a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. You live in America, tough guy. You have the luxury of sitting in your little studio with your hooded sweater like you're 17 years old. The regime. You mean all American presidents?
I'm 17
Who's your favorite
years old?
president in the last 50 years?
Adam, I'm
Who's
17 years old.
Who's your favorite president in the last 50
I have
years?
a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay, I also have
if you want to make it personal,
other, so you want to go personal?
You have a significant other.
Dave, we can go as personal as we can go.
No, I'm trying not to.
We can go as personal as you want.
Respond to one thing.
I don't care, Dave.
Adam, some substance.
I don't care.
I know, because you don't know anything.
Dave, you're a radical.
So move on. So stop picking a fight with me, dude. You don't know anything about anything. You're Pat's guy.
I know.
And I like you, dude. I like you. I like your show. I respect Pat.
Dave, okay. Zip it. Here we go. I'll talk now for a second. I'm defending the military right now. You're basically saying that all our boys that go to the military are all terrorists. That's what you're saying.
No.
You're equating that the United States of America, the IDF, are the equivalent of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. By the way, I also used to respect you until until you went on a little podcast called Coleman Hughes. What happened on that podcast, Dave? This is the problem. I'll tell you
Why
a
don't
quick
you
story.
do it right now, Adam? Why don't you do it?
I'll do it right now, Dave. I'll do it right now.
Go for
Because
it.
here's what Dave is. Here's Dave Smith. By the way, 1% of Americans vote for libertarians every year. So you're trying to basically say that you know more than the average American. 1% of Americans vote for your people, Dave. Why don't you run for something? Why don't you stand for something? You stand for nothing.
Okay, can I respond? Again, Pierce, this is the level of substance.
No. Here we go. I'm going to tell you a story, Dave, and then you can respond. Because this is where I lost respect for you as a debater. Because I was like, oh, this guy Dave, he actually knows some stuff. He's doing his thing. And then you showed up on Coleman Hughes' podcast. Pierce, do you know who Coleman Hughes is?
I do. He's been on the show.
I've been on the show with him.
Perfect. That's this guy right here, just in case, if the camera doesn't see.
But what is the point you're making?
I watched this podcast. The point is this. Dave gets out there and he tries to bully people and say that he's so smart. He reads a lot of books. Good for you, Dave. But what happens when you run into somebody who's way smarter and bullies the bully? I remember growing up in this town of Miami, so there was this kid that used to pick on all the kids that we went to school with. And one day, some new kid showed up, and he goes, oh, yeah, let's go, buddy. Let's do this. And the bully goes, oh, what do you mean? What do you want to do? And he goes, no, yeah, you want to fight everybody? You want to take everybody's lunch? Let's go. And the new kid beat the crap out of the bully. And here's what happened with Dave. He's out there just doing his little podcast thing, debating, like you said, Ben Shapiro, 19-year-olds. And then all of a sudden, this whole conversation about Wesley Clark, and I saw him on your podcast about a week ago, Pierce, and this memo, here you go, Dave. Remember this memo from Wesley Clark that you used to cite everything?
This is adorable.
That you used to cite, yeah, that is adorable because your whole
when do I get to
foundation is
respond?
based on some memo.
Well, I'm not quite sure what,
memo.
Adam, I'm not quite sure what is the point you're making.
The point is this, Dave has zero credibility at this point. Dave has zero credibility.
Well, you don't
at this
really
point.
get to decide
and he
that.
ran
You know, the
into
people,
somebody
the audience gets
that
to decide
completely
that.
bullied. What audience?
Okay.
The four
Well,
people
can
that show
I-
up
can
to
I
your
respond?
comedy show at the
Yeah. Okay, Dave, you respond.
Okay. Can I respond now? Because I listened while
I mean,
you
the question
said
I'd ask
nothing
you,
there.
Dave. The question I'd ask you, Dave, is the way that you're.
Well, let me respond to some of that,
I
Pierce.
will,
mean,
yeah.
this-
But I just want to ask
sure.
you, just on a general level.
How are you going to respond to what Coleman Hughes did to you? There was like a body bag after that debate.
Let him respond.
And this is the point where the debate starts to lose focus. Notice what happened. Dave made a claim about how terrorism should be defined. Adam's response became, "You're a 1% libertarian. You don't know what you're talking about. You got destroyed by Coleman Hughes. You haven't been to the Middle East. And your audience isn't big enough." But none of those things actually answer the central proposition. A person's ideology doesn't determine whether an argument is true. Their audience size doesn't determine whether a historical claim is true. And losing one debate, assuming that's even the correct description of what happened, doesn't automatically invalidate everything that person says afterward. If Adam wants to defeat Dave's argument, he has to deal with the substance. And finally, Dave gets the chance to do exactly that.
You ain't doing nothing,
Go
bro.
for it.
You're sitting here talking about what another man did.
You've already been in a body bag, Dave. I'm here to clean up the scraps.
Okay, let me just ask Dave this, which is, as you know, the comment you made about America being a terrorist state and so on, that went pretty viral. Do you understand why a lot of people got very angry about the perceived equivalence between America and terror organizations like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, and so on?
Yeah, no, well, listen, I mean, there's no question that head
I don't
chopping...
think he does, but go ahead.
Hey, Adam, I mean, just let me talk now. I understand all you can do here is interrupt and hold up props or something, but let me make a few good points.
I'm just, you said that America's a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. Go ahead.
No, I haven't actually, and that's not, you don't really get to decide in the middle of the debate whether I have. It's who moves people more than the other one is really, I guess, the metric. But
you're 1% libertarian. You're really moving people. You're really moving people.
I mean, Adam, I understand this will just be your tactic for the rest of it because you're out of, and you're just out of your depth. But here, okay, yes, actually, I didn't vote for the Libertarian nominee.
Go ahead,
Donald
buddy.
Trump came Donald Trump came to the Libertarian Party convention and tried to convince a lot of us to support him, and I'm one of the people who did, and now I'm one of the people who's criticizing this policy. Now, in terms of, obviously, Pierce, it's a provocative statement. I know that when I make it, and I'm not claiming that the American military men are the equivalent of ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Obviously, they're much more barbaric. These head choppers, the one who Leon Panetta and Barack Obama all sold weapons to and partnered with, and the one who Donald Trump recognized as the president of Syria. I'm not saying that one isn't more barbaric than the other. I'm simply making the point, Pierce, that if you define terrorism as targeting civilians in order to effect a political change, then by that objective definition, the U.S. military and the IDF are more guilty of it than anyone else over the last 25 years.
Their
and if someone wants to argue with me,
their argument is always that the U.S. military and the IDF do not deliberately target civilians.
Yes, Pierce, but again, Pierce, we've been through this.
I'm just saying, for the benefit of fairness,
but that's not
this
true.
is their argument.
Listen,
whereas the difference being that genuine terror groups like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, they deliberately and brazenly target civilians for political purposes.
Pierce, when you have roaming blackouts for 9 days in Cuba because we've embargoed the energy that can go there, I'm sorry, that is targeting the civilian population. When Hamas slow rolls the remains of dead Israeli prisoners, whatever, I don't know, I get in trouble for using the wrong word. The dead Israelis that they were holding captive, even after all the live ones are out, and the response from the Israeli government is we're going to cut the aid to the civilian population in half, that is targeting civilians. And when you drop bombs all over cities and you know that innocent civilians are going to be killed, that's targeting civilians. Now, as far as some of the other stuff here, look, in terms of the debate with Coleman, I encourage people to go watch that. It's only people who already disagreed with me going in who say I got body bagged there. The rest of the people tend to say, it was a kind of a good, respectful back and forth, and both people had some moments. But for Adam to say I only debated children up until Coleman, I debated Dennis Prager, I debated Douglas Murray, I debated Josh Hammer at an Oxford-style debate at Princeton University and absolutely smoked him on the Oxford-style voting. I debated him again at Charlie Kirk's event. I've been coming on this show. How many debates have me and you done, Pierce? I've been willing to debate whoever wants to debate this subject for over 2 years now. And so to say that I'm just being Ben Shapiro and going around to college campuses and debating 19-year-old dudes in wigs claiming to be women, it's just not true, man. I debated Chris Cuomo right in front of you, Adam, the biggest host at CNN. So I just think this is ridiculous. Coleman made some, listen, I'm not going to say a negative thing about Coleman. He didn't attack me. He went at the issues, and I really appreciate and respect that. I've actually been trying to host him on my podcast. I hope he'll do it.
Okay, Adam, your response.
And that distinction matters. Dave is not saying American soldiers are ISIS. He's saying if terrorism is defined in a particular way, then governments should not automatically receive a moral exemption simply because they're governments. You can disagree with whether that definition is sufficient. You can argue that terrorism requires specific intent that distinguishes it from civilian casualties caused during conventional warfare. In fact, that's probably the strongest challenge to Dave's argument, because civilian deaths alone don't establish that civilians were deliberately targeted. But that's precisely why the distinction matters. The serious question isn't, does America equal ISIS? It is, what standard are we using when civilians are harmed? And are we applying that standard consistently? That is a much harder question. And now Adam goes back to the Coleman Hughes debate. But Dave gets to respond with something that is much more relevant to his credibility.
Yeah, and listen, I do respect the fact that Dave does show up.
He does.
I mean, that's like, okay, cool, you showed up. Respect to that. I will give Dave credit. But Dave, and this is why I'm going to keep going back to this, to pretend that it was an even match, an even debate. He put you in a body bag and you're out here still doubling down on all your positions when he went methodically and surgically.
This is the saddest thing. I've never been in a debate where someone just fell back to someone else's debate. Boom, boom, boom. Name one of the booms. Make the point for yourself. Me and you are supposed to be debating here, brother.
The memo from Wesley Clark. The memo from Wesley Clark. Your whole
what's your
foundation.
Point?
For your Israel, so listen up, little guy. So your whole foundation for Israel dragging America into war was that this memo from Wesley Clark showed up, and that's the reason that America got suckered into the Iraq War, because Israel convinced him to do it. And he went and surgically and methodically and very calmly was like, Dave, you don't know what you're talking about. Your entire foundation crumbled. And you're dipping,
so
you're doing your little
can
thing
I respond?
where you're doing your
Can I
nicotine.
respond to this?
So, but the point is this, your Holland's
Man,
Opus,
you are
this
really-
3-hour debate with Coleman Hughes, it wasn't close, Dave. And that's fine. You want to sort of be a revisionist.
That's your opinion.
And say, you know
No,
what?
I'm not
it was,
being revisionist.
We went
That's
point
your-
for point. No, Dave, that was any person with logic, because you
I-
didn't
but
have
Adam,
a response.
Adam,
Your
Adam,
only
okay,
response
Adam,
was,
Adam,
this is so
go read the
ridiculous,
book.
dude.
Adam, it is an unusual position to spend.
It's not ridiculous.
Adam, it's an unusual position that I've had you guys
Because
on.
that was the aha moment for me,
and so far,
where I
you
said, this guy is
But
actually a lightweight.
Adam,
He's actually a lightweight.
Adam,
Well,
my
this
point
is,
to you,
this is
Adam,
that moment for you for a lot of people, Adam.
my
So
point to
congratulations.
Adam, my point to you, Adam, would simply be it's an unusual debating strategy to spend 10 minutes of this debate talking about another debate that most viewers may not have seen.
Yes, it's
I mean,
pretty
there's
ridiculous.
other debates that we can bring up. The fact, Dave, when's the last time you were in the
Go
Middle
ahead.
East?
Oh, okay, so this is
I'm
what you're
asking you.
falling back to now? Yeah, right. No, you know the
Just
answer.
answer
You're not
the question.
asking. I've answered
don't
it a
know
million
the
times,
answer.
and you know the. I have not been to the Middle East. Go do your best Douglas Murray acting
Okay.
job.
So-
Adam, brother, I was prepared
You've
to come
never
in here on
been,
friendly
right?
terms.
So why
you are
I
humiliating
don't care
yourself
if you're
right
here to
now,
be friends.
dude.
I'm
No,
really
you're
not. I'm really not.
humiliating
Dave,
yourself right now.
You've
Yeah,
been
you are.
humiliating yourself for the past 2 years, basically saying that America is a
Okay.
terrorist organization, that the IDF is
Yes,
a
we got
terrorist
that.
organization, and you're whitewashing actual terrorism. What are your thoughts on Islamic terrorism coming into the West? What are your thoughts on the war in the West? What do you think of
It's
ISIS?
a huge.
What do you think of the Muslim
Are you
Brotherhood,
asking me
Dave?
questions?
Go ahead.
It's a huge.
I'm asking you a
risk.
question.
And it's a huge risk, especially right now after we just murdered an Ayatollah and his whole family.
What's a huge risk?
Terrorism
What's a huge risk?
Blowback terrorism is a
I'm
huge
not
problem,
asking,
and
Dave,
having not
so
secure
that
borders
nice try.
is a nightmare
Nice
of a
try.
policy.
I'm not talking
yes,
about.
I'm very concerned
I'm not talking about
terrorism.
blowback terrorism. Do you see what's going on in the West? Do you see what's going on where Piers Morgan lives in London? Do you see what's going on all over the
I've been
world?
an advocate
Why are
of
you
strict
whitewashing
immigration
terrorism?
controls for many years.
By the
I'm
way-
not doing
by
that.
the way,
You're just
the-
making stuff up because you have nothing, dude.
by the way,
Brother, you
I'm
have
not making
nothing
you
here, man.
just said
Adam,
that
wait,
America
Adam,
is a terrorist organization.
Adam, if you brought my country
He's
into it,
anti-American,
Adam,
and here I am
Adam,
as a proud American
Adam,
saying
you-
that he doesn't know what he's talking
You
about.
said that Dave
God.
couldn't talk about the Middle East because he hasn't been there much. When was the last time you were in England?
I spent much time in England. My ex-wife was
When was
Welsh.
the last
She
time?
wasn't a sheepshagger.
When was the last time?
The last time I was in Europe, in England, in the Middle East, where would you like me to go?
No, England.
The last time I was in England was about 8 years ago.
Right. So this idea, let
so
me
the
The
tell
last
you.
time I was in
Any of this.
Israel.
Let me tell you.
The last
this
time I was in
idea-
Israel.
This
Wow.
idea.
was 3 years
that-
ago.
Oh,
that
Adam,
there is
dude,
a
I almost
weird,
feel
there is a
bad.
weird
Pierce,
idea.
do we have to put this episode
No,
out? I
here's the
like
reason.
Adam.
There
We
is
don't
a
have to
weird
air this,
idea.
man.
Adam. There are many people
Are you
on the,
saying that
Hang
not
on,
going to
hang
a
on.
country?
Adam, many people
Go
on
ahead,
the,
Pierce.
hang on. Many people on the conservative right in America seem to be under the illusion that my country has been taken over by radical Muslims. Let me tell you, I have lived here on and off for the last 8 years, unlike you, and respectfully, we have not been taken over by radical Muslims. It just hasn't happened the way it's been sold by people like Tommy Robinson to Americans, and you're all lapping it up.
How would you define it then, Pierce? How would you define it then, Pierce?
I think we have a Muslim population which is predominantly peaceful and inclusive and settled well, and we have some radical members of radical Muslims, as we have radical members of other religions in this country, and we have to be very wary about it.
What other members of radical? What other members of radical religions?
Hang on. And we have had severe immigration control issues run by successive Conservative and Labour governments who frankly lost control of our border, both to illegal immigration, but also allowed way too many people in legally. And these are proper, legitimate things to be discussed. But framing it, as some people like to do, as my country's been overrun and overtaken by radical Muslims, is just a lie. It's just not true. So yes, there are things to be concerned about. And yes, I want to see everyone who comes here assimilate, and everyone who lives here assimilate into our culture. Of course I do. But this idea that we've been overrun and overtaken is nonsense.
Yeah, Piers, can I just make
so
one?
So you think it's all blown out of proportion, that everything that everybody is saying about Sharia law being imposed in London and Birmingham,
it hasn't been imposed
that it's overblown?
Here. It hasn't been imposed here.
Okay, anyway.
You're saying that it's over.
There are
Dave,
a number of unofficial Sharia
guy.
courts operating. They have no legal basis or standing in the UK whatsoever. There is no Sharia law being operated legally in this country. End. It doesn't happen.
Thank you, Piers. Thank you for enlightening me. So you're saying it's all overblown, that Islamification
Why don't you come over with the whole PBD team and let me take you on a guided tour of the UK, and trust me, you'll be fine.
I'm sure you're going to all the nicest places, and definitely one of the most dangerous places, Piers. I'm sure you're not going to Birmingham or Brick Lane or anything like that.
I love Brick Lane, best curries in England. I love Birmingham, fantastic place.
Incredible Bangladeshi curry.
I'll take you there.
Back to my central thesis here is that Dave thinks that the United States military and the IDF are the equivalent of the Ayatollah and the Hezbollahs and the Hamas.
You've made that point. Dave, final point to you.
I know.
Final point
listen,
today.
I mean, I think we all kind of agree that open borders and lack of immigration restrictions are not very sound policy, and that those ought to not be in place. But I do just want to say to the, I guess, almost brushed up against.
Isn't that what libertarians believe in, though? Don't libertarians believe in open borders, Dave?
Let him finish.
Anyway, let me just finish one point, Adam. Since you have nothing to say, just let me finish the point. Anyway, no, libertarians
I've already
don't believe
said
in
what
that.
I've had to say. You've been in a body bag for about a year now.
Then let me finish. Yeah, great. Okay, I've been in a body bag. Anyway, let's see what the
He's
reaction to this one
now.
is. Let's see what the reaction to this debate is. Okay, we'll take a look at that when it comes out.
Sure.
Anyway, but the idea that
we can gladly do that.
Great.
You're defending terrorism, and you think the United States is a terrorist organization.
Yeah, right.
Let's see what rational MAGA people think. Go ahead, Dave.
Let's see. Okay. Anyway, the idea that you're making the point that the General Wesley Clark thing has been torn apart, and that was my entire case for Israel trying to push America into these wars is absolutely ridiculous. There's much more to it than that, and that point hasn't been torn apart. Pierce, is anyone going to seriously argue that Israel trying to push us into this war with Iran isn't a factor? As Benjamin Netanyahu, the longest-serving prime minister in Israeli history, brags about how this is the culmination of his entire life's work.
Not just that.
He's been advocating this for my entire life.
Well, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, said it very clearly that America preemptively got involved in the strikes because Israel were going to attack Iran, and so America thought there would be revenge attacks against American interests and got in first.
And Netanyahu's been coming here every other week to try to lobby Trump into this war.
Guys,
so you guys are saying that Trump,
you
guys are saying that Trump is that big of a buffoon that he just gets dragged into wars.
Please
nice try.
Adam, come back again another time. I've loved having you on. Dave, always good to see you. I've sadly got to leave you there, but I appreciate it both very much. Thank you.
Enjoy that body bag, Adam.
And there is the argument. Now, do I think Dave has automatically proven that America is the world's worst terrorist organization? No. That's a much bigger claim than this debate establishes. But I also don't think Adam actually answered Dave's central argument. And this is where political commentary needs to become more disciplined. Because there are really two separate questions here. The first is, are civilian deaths automatically terrorism? No. Civilian casualties can occur during warfare without civilians being deliberately targeted. Intent matters. Target selection matters. Proportionality matters. The circumstances of the attack matter. So Dave cannot simply say, civilians died, therefore terrorism. That argument would be far too broad. But the second question is much harder. If civilians are deliberately targeted for political purposes, should we care whether the perpetrator is a government, a military, or a non-state armed group? My answer is yes. The standard has to be consistent. And that's where Dave's argument has value, even if you reject his conclusion. Because imagine applying completely different moral standards depending on whose flag is involved. If Hamas deliberately attacks civilians, we call it terrorism. If ISIS attacks civilians, we call it terrorism. If a government deliberately targets civilians to achieve a political objective, then the conduct deserves the same level of scrutiny. The uniform doesn't magically make civilian life less valuable. And that's the part of Dave's argument that got buried under all the yelling. Instead of debating the definition, Adam spent a significant amount of time talking about Dave's political identity, his debate history, and another confrontation with Coleman Hughes. Those things might make for entertaining television, but they don't answer the proposition. And Dave isn't completely off the hook either. If you're going to make a statement as extreme as America is arguably the worst terrorist organization in the world, then you need more than a provocative definition. You need evidence. You need historical context. You need to distinguish deliberate targeting from foreseeable civilian casualties. And you need to explain why America's conduct is worse than that of other states and armed groups. That's the standard Dave should be held to. But here's the standard Adam should be held to as well. Actually answer the argument. Don't substitute insults for evidence. Don't substitute audience size for evidence. Don't substitute someone's political label for evidence. And don't tell viewers someone has lost the debate before you've actually demonstrated why their argument is wrong. Because that's the bigger lesson here. Political debates aren't supposed to be wrestling matches where the loudest person wins. They're supposed to be arguments. One person makes a claim. The other person challenges the claim. Evidence gets presented. Definitions get tested. And then the audience decides. And if we're serious about applying that principle to foreign policy, then the same standard has to apply everywhere. We should be able to condemn terrorism without pretending powerful governments are incapable of wrongdoing. We should be able to criticize American foreign policy without pretending America is uniquely evil. We should be able to criticize Israel's government without turning that criticism into anti-Semitism. We should be able to condemn Hamas without using Hamas as an excuse to ignore Palestinian civilian suffering. And we should be able to criticize Iran without pretending its history began the day we decided to oppose its government. That's what consistent standards look like. So did Dave shut down Adam? I wouldn't reduce the entire debate to that. But Adam's opening claim, that Dave had already lost simply because he called America a terrorist organization, was not enough. Because once Dave was actually allowed to explain himself, there was a real argument underneath the provocative headline. You can disagree with that argument. You can challenge the definition. You can challenge the evidence. But you have to actually engage with it. And that's the difference between political commentary and political propaganda. If you believe every government, every military, and every political movement should be judged by the same standard, subscribe to The Honest Perspective. I'm Neil. Truth over access. People over profits. That's The Honest Perspective. And that's where I'll leave you.